Sono lieto di poter rievocare, in poche parole, le esperienze delle prime trasmissioni radiotelegrafiche a grandi distanze, da me felicemente eseguite attraverso l'Oceano Atlantico il 12 dicembre 1901.
I'm worried about little Dilbert. He's not like other kids.
What do you mean?
Yesterday, I left him alone for a minute, and he disassembled the TV, our clock, and the stereo.
That's perfectly normal. Kids take things apart.
Oh! The part that worries me is he used the components to build a ham radio set.
Oh, dear.
What's wrong with the TV?
Not just the TV. All the lights in the house are flickering.
It might be the aerial wires, Stu. It slipped loose or something once before.
Well, I doubt if that'd affect all the lights in the house, but it's easy enough to check. Martha, come here a moment. Look. That wasn't there this morning, was it?
No. The Andersons took their antenna with them when they moved.
It's a star of luck.
What?
Ham radio operators. You know what they do to radio and television reception.
Daddy,
Yeah, Ellen?
I don't know what's the matter, but I was listening to my radio while I was studying, and all of a sudden it began picking up these weird voices.
Ham radio operators.
Well, is there anything we can do about it, or we just have to live with it?
Well, there's one thing we can do. We can make sure they've got a license to operate it.
Oh, well, do you think you should, Stu? I mean, those men seem so kind of threatening somehow.
So, what's next?
Okay, Mother Radio. This is the copy for the new Republic of Avalon radio station ID.
Yeah, I've got it here. Hang on a minute. This is Newfoundland. This is Newfoundland. First.
Cue the effects. Coming down in 3, 2, 1.
This is Newfoundland's first podcast. You're with Nora. By the way, am I getting paid to do this?
Boy, oh boy, we revved up Salerno again this morning. We love... we do it every morning.
Live from downtown on this first day of April, this is your friend Bill, W2ONV, one nice voice, coming to you direct from the studios here in downtown Saddlebrook, where daily we produce what we call hi-fi stereo surround sound for sideband.
Imagine sitting in your room talking to people in distant lands. Imagine hearing world events as they happen. Listening to far-off places with strange names. Imagine hearing a voice crackle through the air calling you.
Holy snapping bra straps.
I wonder how many of you know how your radio works. You want me to explain to you how your radio works tonight? You don't? Okay, I won't then. No. I never force anything upon anybody. No. I could have very easily have done that. It might have been handy to you, but all right, I'll give you a little thumbnail description of how your radio works. In the beginning, there is the aerial. And, how's that for the opening line of a Marshall McLuhan Bible? All right, in the beginning, there is the aerial, see? And in your little radio, even when you got a little radio that is a little pocket $2.50 Japanese transistor radio with a little 9-volt battery in it, it has an aerial in it, you know. It is. It's in there. It's a wire-wound coil in the case of a little Japanese radio or any kind of a transistor radio. Now, that little aerial picks up minute electrical energy charges from the air. Now, we could go into that. We could tell you all the various theories of radiation, but that's not important. Let us say that there's little electrical charges that are floating around in the air all the time. Now, those electrical charges are indiscriminate as far as your head is concerned. Right there, right around. If you were to reach out your hand, now just reach your hand out, friend, and just hold your hand, make it like a cup, see? And make it like a dish with two hands. That's a parabolic reflector. It is. It's a pretty high frequency one, but nevertheless, it's a parabolic reflector, and it's got a lot of dielectric leakage in it. But there it is. Now, that parabolic reflector, as you sit out there right now, is picking up some of the doggonedest junk you could ever conceive of. First of all, you're getting all kinds. You get a lot of Cousin Brucey. You get Lockjaw. You get me. You're getting Brad. You're getting the whole scene all in one hand. You're also getting a UHF TV. There's a lady there who's giving lessons in Etruscan art on Channel 13. You're getting all this stuff, and it's all in a giant jumble, see? It's all in the air. It's all there. It's all floating around. The Russian ships at sea talking to the submarines. The planes talking to the tower at LaGuardia. It's all in the air, see? Well, now your radio set is the sneaky little thing that picks the specific thing out of that fantastic jumble. It's got this little area sticking up, see? And that area picks up all of these sounds, all of these little electrical energy charges. Now, right after the aerial comes this little thing called the tuned RF circuit. Now, that makes a rough, it selects, you tune a little knob, see, and it selects which one of the sounds you're going to hear. And then it is amplified, and then it goes through an IF stage and a rectifier stage, and then those little energy, the voice energies that are flickering up on top of those little waves that are being sent out, finally rattle that little crummy paper cone of your loudspeaker, and guess who comes out?
Republic of Avalon Radio. It's 0 hours, Avalon Standard Time.
Victor of Ocean 1 Radio Victor, this is Golf 3, Uniform Juliet Echo, G3UJE. In the United Kingdom, my name is Brian, Boston, Radio, Italy, America, Norway, and I'm located in the northwest of the United Kingdom, quite near to the city of Manchester, just south in the county of Cheshire. And I would like to send a greeting to Jim's podcast on the Republic of Avalon Radio.
Victor Oscar 1 Radio Victor, this is Whiskey 2 Delta X-Ray in beautiful downtown Pawling, New York, located about 20 kilometers north of New York City in the quaint Hudson Valley, right along the border of Connecticut. And you're listening to the Republic of Avalon Radio. Whiskey 2 Delta X-Ray. Over.
Jimmy Fiddler.
Okay. Is this thing on? All right. Okay. Yes. Republic of Avalon Radio. You are with the roar, and this is indeed Jimmy Fiddler coming at you, almost live from the heart of the Republic. My friends call me Jim, so you can call me VO1RV, Victor Oscar 1 Romeo Victor. An identity that many of you didn't know I had, although I have mentioned it in the past. I am what is known as one of those people that was referred to earlier in the episode, one of those quirky, unusual, off the beaten path ham radio operators. Yes, I am. Actually, I've held my advance tickets since 1984, and my call sign is VO1, which denotes Newfoundland, RV. So my call is VO1RV, and that phonetically is Victor Oscar 1 Romeo Victor. There's several different versions of that. I have a couple of favorites. Victor Oscar 1 recreational vehicle. Victor Oscar 1 raw vegetables is good. And perhaps my favorite of all time is Victor Oscar 1 reggae vibes. Very much like that one. So there you have that. And this episode is about radio in its many forms. But most specifically today, at least, ham radio. Many of you maybe don't know a whole lot about ham radio. What the heck is it? Is it some kind of glorified CB? Perhaps a lot of you don't even know what CB radio is. That was very, very popular, I remember, in the 70s when they had all those trucker movies, you know, the BJ and the Bear and movies. I'm thinking about movies. What the heck? I'm just not really great with pop culture, and as time goes on, I get worse and worse. What was a big movie? Yeah. What the heck? Truckers, you know? Convoy. Yeah, that was one. And you had all this, you know, 10-4 Good Buddy and all that sort of stuff going on. I was a part of that. I enjoyed quite a long time, actually. I enjoyed 11 meters, as we call it. Well, it is 11 meters, Citizens Band, as we call it. Chicken Band. 10-4 Good Buddy. What's your 20? I'm just trying to remember some of those things. 10-20 and 10-27? Was that like QSY? I don't remember. You guys will have to remind me. Or maybe that's okay. You don't have to remind me. But anyway, CB is something that's much maligned in amateur radio circles. Although, I think there are many closet 11-meter aficionados amongst our ranks. People that just don't want to fess up. They don't want to admit it. But many people have engaged in the hobby of Citizens Band radio. And I think it's fine. What the heck? Why not? It's just another band. I mean, if tomorrow the 20-meter band were to be called something else, what would the difference be? Sometimes there's actually some good DX on 11 meters. It's not to be sneezed at, I don't think. I don't have any CB equipment. I haven't engaged in Citizens Band radio since probably when I got my advance ticket in 84. I think I sold all my CB gear. What did I have at the time? I had a Cobra. What the heck was it? A Cobra 85? Does that sound right? 23 channel, all, you know, AM radio with a little space, a little empty space between channels 22 and 23, which was good for me. That was for me a good reference, not being able to read the dial. In fact, I'll get onto something a little later. Well, no, I'll get onto it now. We'll dedicate this episode to silent keys, a few of which come to mind. Well, I'll just mention two. One you heard earlier, Bill, W2ONV, somebody who I've spoken to several times over the years, and somebody who was a great inspiration to me in terms of my interest in audio and high fidelity audio. And I'm one of these people, even as a record producer, it's a very important part of the process for me, the whole idea that the music sound good, that it blend well together. And I really like all the color and the texture. And when it comes to radio, I can't leave that behind. Whatever that is about me that makes me like to hear good, well-produced, well-mixed music, or even when you go out live and you check out a concert, or even just go to a pub somewhere and there's a band playing and they just sound horrible. To me, it detracts. It takes away from the music. Some people call it real. It's the real thing, man. Those guys ain't no fancy pants, you know, with their reverbs and all this stuff. These guys are the real deal. Well, no, they're not the real deal, because you're hearing bad frequencies and all kinds of horrific things that are probably damaging your ears in the process. And of course, after you get a few pints into you, you don't tend to mind it as much. But no, I just really like good sound. So when it comes to what's called ESSB, or extended single sideband, maybe it's not quite as good as AM, but boy, I tell you, it can sound pretty nice at half the bandwidth of AM on single sideband. It's a beautiful thing, folks. It's beautiful. It is not to be looked down upon by people who want to sound like Donald Duck in a can. What's the point? Anyway, I don't mean to stir up any controversy, and I'll just move on. The point is, the reason why I'm discussing all this is because Bill, W2ONV, was pretty much like the granddaddy of high fidelity single sideband audio. And you'll hear later in this episode, I inquired, talking to somebody who I haven't spoken to in quite a while. I asked after Bill, and apparently he's a silent key. So a big chunk of dedication for this show goes out to Bill and to his family and to all my fellow amateur radio operator folks, my brethren, who for many, many years, for many decades, heard that unmistakable voice, mostly on 20 meters, mostly at around 14.178. I think Bill is definitely missed. I would still, going through the band, going through 20 meters and not hearing Bill there, it still seems strange to me. But some of the guys are still around, and well, I guess we all have our time. Eventually, our time comes up, our number comes, and so I was very sad to hear about Bill's passing. And I guess the other person that I would, who's also a silent key, that I would send a big chunk of dedication out to for this episode would be VO1DI, Victor Oscar 1 Delta India, Oscar Hurley I. In Newfoundland amateur radio, everybody knows who he is. Oscar passed away in 96, I think it was, in December 96. But the thing about Oscar, as I was talking about before, CB radio and ham radio and whatever snobbery goes around, it's so funny how people tend to form up in little clubs and cliques and look down their noses at other people and so on. Oscar wasn't into any of that. Oscar just loved radio. He loved all forms of radio, broadcast radio, AM radio, FM radio, sideband, RTTY, CW, phone, CB, 11 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters, 80 meters, 160 meters, VHF, UHF, satellite. He had no prejudices. He had no biases. That's a little one for you. No biases. Actually, he did have bias, but anyway, it's a little joke. And he really got me started. I mentioned before about, say, that Cobra. What the heck was it? A Cobra 85? Why does 85 come into my head? What was my call sign? XM66 6873. That was my number. Yeah, so 6873, that was my number, and that Cobra could be an 85. Google it or do search, whatever. I don't use Google anymore. I use something called Start Page that you guys might want to look at. Startpage.com. It's secure and it's private. They're not logging your IP address and keeping track of all your searches and all this and that. And, I'm not searching for illicit anything or how to make bombs or this or that or whatever. Okay, you know what I mean? I'm not planning to overthrow the world or anything. But why should I be content with my neighbors eavesdropping on my phone calls? There's that idea of privacy, which seems to be fading away. I think the current young generation, the people that are coming up now, don't even know anything about privacy. I mean, they're going to their schools and they're being searched and scanned and all this stuff, and walking through streets and there's cameras everywhere. The whole idea of privacy, I think, is fading away. But anyway, I'm getting off on a side issue. If you want to do whatever you do in terms of searching and all that stuff, and do it in a nobody's business, thank you very much sort of fashion, check out startpage.com. Anyway, what you want to do maybe is go do a search for Cobra 85. I don't know what it is. If it comes up, it was a very simple radio with, I think over on the right it had a volume and a squelch, and then above that was the VFO, or whatever you call that, the channel button. And then to the left of that, toward the middle, was an S meter. And then on the far left was a speaker, which kind of had almost like you could imagine if you took a sheet of styrofoam and poked a bunch of pencil holes in it. That sort of look. I think it was a black radio too. Anyway, Oscar Hurley took the channel knob off of that and replaced it with one with a point, so that I could know if I were on channel 8 or if I were on channel 20 or whatever it would be. I could see which way it was pointing. The original knob was just totally round, and there was no little dent or anything anywhere to indicate what channel you were on. And he sold me that radio, put up my antenna for me. I don't remember what kind of an antenna I had at the time. A lot of people had these things called big sticks. Don't think it was a big stick. No, it wasn't, actually. It was a ground plane. Yeah, it was. It was a ground plane. And boy, I'll tell you, Oscar rigged that up for me. And I mean, Oscar Hurley doing that, setting up my first CB, my first radio station, my first broadcasting radio station where I didn't just listen, I actually spoke and other people heard me. And this wasn't even sideband. This was just 23 channels AM. And boy, I tell you, I worked a lot of DX with that radio. Used to talk stateside all the time. And not very much on the European side. But Canada and the United States quite a bit. Right down south. And of course around New York, New Jersey, Vermont, Massachusetts. And then up through New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island. No problem. And I had a booming station, and that was thanks to Oscar and thanks to his lack of bias or prejudice toward CB radio. He knew that here was a kid that was absolutely foaming at the mouth. I mean, my eyes were lit up like Christmas trees, when I'd go in and look at his gear and see his radios and his microphones and everything. It was just, oh man, there's no way of describing it. I don't know, some people dig motorcycles, some people dig airplanes, whatever. But for me, radio, just all sorts of radio. And by extension now, of course, gadgets, technology. I always, took things apart, tape recorders and radios and things like that. Like to pull everything abroad, as we say around here, just to see how things ticked and see what I could do and what happens if I do this and what happens if I do that. So it wasn't so much taking a course in electronics. It was really quite often it was letting the smoke out of stuff. And boy, once you smell that smell, you never forget it. That smell of electronic smoke, the smell of burning capacitors and blowing out transformers and so on. It's a smell you never forget. And in fact, I thought I smelled that. I thought I smelled that here in the house a couple of weeks ago, and we were about to go out and play radio. Actually, we were going to go drive up to Signal Hill with my new 706, the IC 706 Mark II-G, and just work a few contacts from Signal Hill. With HF, it's not so much a big deal, to get up on a high place or whatever. Main thing is you don't want to be obstructed, you don't want to be blocked off by anything. So Signal Hill's good that way. You got a free, clear shot. But I think it's mostly for me. Signal Hill is that whole Marconi receiving the first transatlantic wireless message in that area, let's say. It's not called Signal Hill because of that. It's called Signal Hill because of the merchant ships that used to come in, and they had signal flags to indicate which ship it was and what kind of cargo they were carrying and all that kind of stuff. And then they would rush down to the St. John's merchants and say, alert them that their shipment of whatever had arrived. I think a lot of people think it's called Signal Hill because of Marconi, because of the S dit that was received here in St. John's. But that's not the case. Anyway, I think it's a very interesting place for a lot of people to get in their logbooks. So whenever I can, I like to get up in the mobile and just let people get that into their log. As you'll hear later on. Actually, later we're going to take you out on a little demonstration. And for those of you who are interested in radio in any way, shape, or form, I'm sure you'll find that interesting. One thing I also do after I sort of demonstrate the radio in terms of, ham radio and communication back and forth, I take you through a little spin through a shortwave band. And I also take you through the AM broadcast band, the standard band where everybody listens to, mostly talk radio these days, I think. But years ago, we would listen to all kinds of things on AM music, all the top 40 stuff and whatever. FM really wasn't an issue. It didn't really exist. Then when FM came in, boy, it was great for a while, because that's when they started playing like albums. Some of the stations, they would play full albums, the new John Lennon album. Here's the new John Lennon album. And they just, drop the needle and go out in the next room and drink coffee and smoke cigarettes and turn up the speakers and listen to it themselves. Full digs to them, I say. Fair play. And boy, we heard a lot of good music like that. But AM is that band that everybody knows on any radio pretty much you've ever bought. There's a little switch, says AM, FM. Well, it's the AM side. Just to kind of show you where we are geographically, where we're located, I just took you through a little trip around the AM band and let you hear what we pick up. And it's funny because it varies. It really does. I didn't really hear much stuff from the U.S., as you'll hear later. But there are times when the U.S. stuff comes in really well. We were hearing mostly European stuff and all kinds of other stuff. Anyway, it's a little time capsule as well, because as I spun through the top of the dial down, I passed through the only stations we have right now are VOAR. At 9:30, we have Radio Newfoundland right now. At 8:80, we have VOWR. At 6:40, we have CBC AM St. John's, or CBC 1, as it's called now. Trying to be like the Beeb, I think. And 590 is VOCM. And those have been around for a long time, but at some point in the future, that might not be the case. Those stations may be all gone, new ones in there, or that band might be used for something entirely different. I have no idea. But it's a beautiful band. Just take out your AM radio at night. Just wait till the sun goes down a couple of hours. Especially, when it gets later on into the night. Turn on your radio. Set it to AM. Close your eyes. Put your finger on the dial and slowly turn. Slowly turn that dial, and you'll be amazed at what you hear. All sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. That's how I started out. I started out very, very young. I got my first transistor radio when I was 2 years old, and tuned around and listened to various things until about the age of about 4 or 5, somewhere in that range. I had this radio. It was I think it was a Wilco. I remember it was a little powder blue and white radio with this sort of, up on the top, there were like 3 little circles. And one of them had a W in it. And one side, on the left side, I remember, was a white, it was one of these little thumb dials kind of thing. You just put your thumb against it and just pushed up and down. I discovered after tearing these radios apart that those things were actually round, and they kind of had a rough edge, that you see on the edge of a coin. You look on the edge of a quarter or a dime or whatever. There's that little bit that they take away to try to rip you off. Yes, indeed. So anyway, yeah, it has the volume on the left side. It had the volume on the left side and the channel button on the other side, the channel knob. And for whatever reason, one time, it's you discover these things, as a 4 or 5 year old. I guess I just didn't, okay, well, before I change the battery in the radio or do whatever, I should, power it off. No, I just left the radio on and took the back off and, no fear of anything. And I touched the circuit board inside the radio on the back. The back just pried off. You just took your thumbnail. There was a little slit. You just took your thumbnail and bang, the whole back of the radio came off. Up above, you had a circuit board, and down below, a little compartment where you put a 9-volt battery. And in doing this, I touched the circuit board, and suddenly I heard some bizarre language coming in. I didn't know what it was, Chinese or Spanish, or it was all the same to me at that point. I heard some kind of strange language, and whoa, what the heck? And I took my finger away, and it went away. So then I held my finger against it again, and I came to discover that I guess what I was picking up was harmonics. My body was acting as an antenna, and I guess this thing was made so poorly, so cheaply, that it was just picking up spurious, harmonics. And I was actually picking up shortwave stations. I couldn't believe it. It was like I'd struck gold. I'd struck oil in my own backyard. So here I was through the ages of 5, 6, 7, whatever, in the nighttime, holding my finger against the inside of the circuit board with the back taken off and the 9-volt battery dangling out precariously, which led to the wires going to the 9-volt battery breaking quite often, and me having to fix them with tape, and probably not very tidily, I wouldn't say. Several repair jobs, I recall. And so one finger was inside touching the circuit board, and my thumb was fixed on the tuning knob, because these harmonics were so narrow that just the slightest touch, and you'd miss it. You'd go past it. So I spent many, many, many hours listening to that little radio, listening to Voice of America and BBC and Deutsche Welle, Radio Moscow, all these things. And this would have been about 69, 70, in that range. And as I mentioned, I talked about some of this stuff in episode 1. Go all the way back to episode 1 from May of 2005. Was it 2005? Yeah. 'Twas. And I talk a little bit about all that stuff. But I got a police band radio at some point. I don't know where the heck that came from. I think that came from my grandmother, from my nan. And I drooled over it. I lusted for it. I was listening to the air traffic stuff on it, and police band, and listened to the police on it, and oh my gosh, all kinds of stuff on that. And it had a couple of shortwave bands as well, and a bigger knob, and I could tune it. And I think it had a little knob somewhere, a little part of the knob that you could tune a station in, and then you could fine tune it. And it drifted, but compared to my transistor radio, the drift was considerably better. And of course, I didn't have to hold my finger. I didn't have to press against the circuit board inside. I thought that was the greatest thing. So that would have been about, 72, 73, whatever. And fast forward to about 1975, 1976, where I started getting interested in ham radio. The school that I went to in Halifax, Nova Scotia, actually had a club station, VE1HSB, which I operated from several times. And that was really where I really got my feet wet. I took the course. I actually learned CW. I learned Morse code in one night, memorized it in one night, and was actually fairly proficient within days. One thing we used to do, we used to practice the code. We used to go around and talk to each other in code, which was kind of cool because nobody else could understand what we were saying. So, I'd say, da did it, da da da, da did it, and, that's Bob. And Bob would say, da 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 da, da, yeah. Anyway, the whole idea was we had our own code. This was great. We could say anything, anywhere, and we didn't use it so much to behind people's back, whatever. We had our fun, put it that way. But mostly it was just about communicating. So we'd just be walking around, and instead of talking to each other in spoken words, we would dit and da back and forth to each other. And I'm sure some of you hams out there, if you had the experience to have been studying and learning with friends at the same time, you probably had that experience, and that may be bringing back some memories. Did it, da da da, dit. I hope. Da da da. La di da. So, yeah, 75, 76, interested in ham radio, still listening to shortwave. Got my advance ticket in 84, and here I am, Victor Oscar 1 Romeo Victor, VO1RV. And that's what's on our license plate on our car. If you see us, wave. And this is the radio episode 73. 73, it has a significance to us hams. 73 being the last thing we say to each other. It just means best wishes. You will hear that coming up later. In the meantime, just hope you guys find this interesting. Ham radio is a wonderful thing. Without any internet or anything, we can communicate all around the world. Walking down a street, in a car, in our house, we can communicate to each other all around the world. We can send messages, we can text, we can use satellites, all kinds of weird and wonderful things. I don't know. It takes a certain type of person to be a ham. You've got to be somehow out of the loop. You've got to be a bit of a misfit. You have to be one of these people who is fascinated about how things work and life and the world and people and nighttime and airwaves. And I'm thinking of my friend now. I'm thinking of my good friend Frank Edward Nora there in Nutley, New Jersey, who's not a ham. And I think it's about time. You can check him out over at onsug.com, ONSUG, Oscar, November, Sierra, Uniform, Golf. onsug.com. He's created, I don't know how much content. He's been doing a show, and then podcasting came along, so I guess you could call it a podcast at that point. But he's been involved with creating an awful lot of content, and you can go check that out at onsug.com. And I would appeal to Frank to if you're listening, Frank, I'll send him a link so he'll be compelled to listen. Frank, you should really look into ham radio. Gene Shepard, who we heard earlier in the little collage the audio collage that I created at the beginning. Gene Shepard, if you don't know who he is, just do a search. Not a Google search, do a start page search for Gene Shepard. Jean, as in Jean. Shepard, Sheppherd. Gene Shepard, if you don't know who he is. That's somebody else who I would listen to in the nighttime when I was tuning around. I used to listen to the CBS Radio Mystery Theater with E.G. Marshall. Oh, man, I was riveted to that. But I would listen to Gene Shepard as well, all kinds of things. Listen to hockey games and baseball games and all that stuff. WNEW and 1010 WINS and WBAL in Baltimore and WWVA in Wheeling, West Virginia and WTIC in Hartford, Connecticut, and all these stations that I would tune in the nighttime. And Gene Shepard would be one of those people that I would hear on WOR in the nighttime. And he's always been an inspiration to me as well, Gene Shepard. He was one of these people who I would call awake. Many of us kind of trudge through life in a kind of a stupor. But Gene Shepard was one of those few people who actually, the light was on and somebody was home. And I think a lot of us owe a lot to Gene Shepard, a lot of ham radio operators and a lot of broadcasters. And certainly Frank would attest to that as a whatever the heck he is, a broadcaster, a podcaster, or whatever. As you all know, regular listeners, I've never been fond of the word podcast. I don't know what to call it. A netcast? Netcast doesn't quite work either, because any sort of streaming online show, internet radio, would be a netcast. What about a feedcast? I guess technically that's what it would be. it would be a feedcast. So a netcast you'd tune in and listen to at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night. And then a feedcast would be something you'd subscribe to and listen to on your own time. It has nothing to do with the iPod. There's no Apple iPod in it anywhere. So you can all get that out of your minds. But is everybody going to start calling it a feedcast? I don't know. Back to Frank again for a second. He kind of coined a phrase a while back that I really like myself, and that's the term new time radio. And again, that would be something for a whole other day. I am absolutely a huge old-time radio listener, always have been, again, since childhood. And it's almost like another facet. It's another thing. You know, you've got AM radio, you've got FM radio, you've got ham radio, shortwave, and then the various modes, you know, single sideband, CW and RTTY, and AM and FM and satellite and this and that and whatever. But OTR is a whole other thing. It's a whole other world. And just imagine just being able to go back in time and listen to what people listened to on the radio in 1942 or 1948 or 1936 or whatever. A lot of these old-time radio programs, old-time radio or OTR, people call it, are available. You can go to archive.org and just do a search for OTR. And there's a whole section there. And you can download all these shows. You can download Fibber McGee and Molly and The Great Gildersleeve and Dragnet and Gunsmoke. Not the Gunsmoke that was on the television, but the real one, the real deal, with William Conrad as Marshall Dillon and Parley Bear as Mr. Dillon, as Chester Proudfoot. Yeah, that's the real stuff. A lot of other things too, you know, that I'm not as fond of, stuff like the Green Hornet and the Lone Ranger and Red Rider, and that was more geared toward little boys. And I remember even as a little boy not being as fond of those ones. I remember having some old 78s of the Lone Ranger, and it was just kind of, I don't know, it seemed kind of melodramatic to me. It wasn't very believable, I found. And that whole Tonto thing that just didn't really appeal to me very much either, to be honest with you. That, yes, Kimosabi, just didn't really do it for me. It seemed to me that Tonto got a raw deal, but everybody knows about that. The Lone Ranger would send him in. He'd come back all full of bullet holes, and then the Lone Ranger would swoop in and save the day. But in any case, so much for that. Old Time Radio, go to archive.org and do a search for Old Time Radio or OTR and download those shows and put them on your whatever, on your hard drive or on whatever you carry around with you and listen to. And there's endless hours of stuff there. And I listen to OTR every single day. There's a station I listen to. It's called ABN, the Antioch Broadcasting Network. If you do a search for Antioch, ANTIOCH, OTR, you'll find it. And it's a station. It's streaming 24/7 on a regular daily schedule, and they match the date whenever they can. So if you're listening on October 3rd, 2009, very good chance you're listening to a program that was originally aired on October 3rd in, say, for example, 1948. I could go on forever and ever. I'll just leave it at this here for now. Just suffice it to say that radio, I think, is one of the most brilliant things in the universe. But in the meantime, I'll just push ahead and just encourage you, if you've thought about ham radio, if you've thought about looking into it, go ahead. It's very easy. If you're afraid of the Morse code, that's gone. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't even have to learn Morse code. That's a whole other issue. I'm kind of sad to see that gone. But a lot of people, the only thing that held them back from ham radio was Morse code. It's gone. You don't have to learn that anymore. Locally, I'm sure wherever you are, you can go. The best way to do it is to go and take a course. There's usually a course, costs very little money, and you get to meet like-minded people who are interested in the hobby. And of course, you all end up getting your license at the same time. And the equipment to get, I mean, it's like anything else. You can spend an awful lot of money in ham radio. Certainly a lot of people will tell you that. But you can get started very cheaply as well, very affordably. For less than $100, you can get a handheld radio that you can carry around with you. And believe it or not, actually talk all around the world with that little radio in your hand using something called IRLP. We can talk about all that and many other things some other time. But in the meantime, suffice it to say, ham radio, if you're interested, look into it. Shortwave radio, if you've got an old shortwave radio in a drawer or in an attic or whatever, go pull it out, get the dust off it, plug it in, fire it up. We have the internet now, and that's beautiful. That's how you're hearing me here now. But let's not forget radio. Radio is where it's at. Radio is not dead. Radio is still alive and kicking. It's just out there. It's free. The airwaves, they're out there, and they belong to us, and we should use them, I think. It's all about enjoyment. It's all about this life that we're living here, what we do with it, and radio is just something that should not be missed. You shouldn't miss out on all of those signals floating around you right now. Like Gene Shepard was saying earlier, that parabolic reflector, you hold your hands out, and you know what? You got the BBC in the palm of your hands. You've got Radio Deutsche Welle. You've got Radio Canada International. You've got all your local stuff. All that stuff is floating around in the air. All you need is that receiver to weed out any particular signal. All those frequencies are in the air around you, just to be picked up. All you need is a receiver. And if you see fit, a transmitter, because you can put signals in the air as well. So let's carry on after this little bit. Let's take you out in the car. We're going to go mobile and play a little bit of radio with you. Hope you enjoy that. You're listening to Republic of Avalon Radio.
Hey, this is Hope Povenmire from the Audio Mirror Podcast, and you're listening to Republic of Avalon Radio. You're with the Roar.
Hi, this is Eddie Grant, and you're listening to the Republic of Avalon Radio. Take your time.
We're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
Republic of Avalon Radio.
Either you're with us or you're with the terrorists.
You're with the Roar!
Okay, here we are. Greetings to all. We are doing the real deal here. We're going to demonstrate the radio for you in mobile operation.
You got the microphone?
I do. We have two antennae here, folks. We have a 20-meter ham stick and an 80-meter ham stick, and I'm actually taking them both because we're going to start with 20-meter operation. What the hell? Okay, hang on. There we go. We're going to start with 20 meters and then switch over to 80 because the net is coming on, and I will check into the net because timing-wise, that's looking pretty good. So, let me describe to you what's going on here. We have the radio and an automatic antenna tuner. Kind of bound them together with a little bit of sort of bungee type cable. Hold on one sec. Yeah. How many hands do we have here?
Do I put the radio in the back with the...
Just hold on. Okay, if you can hang on to this. Yeah, just lift the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Lay the radio in. Close the trunk again. And hold this for me. All right, what I'm doing here right now, first of all, is I'm going to put the 20-meter antenna onto the mount, which is right here. All right, I am lining it up, and I am screwing it on. It's a ham stick. So there we go, 20 meter ham stick, screwing on, and she's almost on there. And there she is. She's looking pretty good there. Now we're going to pop the trunk up, and I'm going to push this antenna in. What's the way that I'll put it
Do you
in
want me to do it?
this way first.
Okay.
So so that'll just go up and
Go
just
up in the middle.
go right up the middle.
Yep. Oh. No, hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Should do it.
Oh, I have to be careful nobody loses an eye here. That's kind of sticking up there. Okay, now I'm just going to plug in the radio, the power, and the antenna and all such.
Is that the plug?
Yep, that goes on the front of the radio. That's for the control head, which is, let's see, how do I describe that for you folks? The actual front of the radio comes off. So now I'm connecting the power cable. The front of the radio actually comes off, so I can have the actual front panel of the radio up in the front of the car. Now the antenna. There is Mr. Antenna. What is this? I think that's what I'm looking for. Yes, I'm connecting the antenna.
There's two of those.
Yeah, we got the UHF. Okay. We got the VHF. I'm just connecting the HF for the moment. Okay. Let's see.
It's a wee bit chilly.
It is a wee bit on the chilly side. Autumn has struck.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Hi.
It's all looking snug enough. Okay, now I'll close the trunk.
You take
The antenna's up there, it's looking fine. Yep.
You take the other nine.
Alright, here we go. Now, I am proceeding to the front of the car. It's very easy, as you can see, that took no time. In fact, I suppose the more we get used to doing this, the quicker the whole procedure will become, but... Okay, now what I'm going to do is... where is that antenna? Oh, it's just there like that. Let's see. Oh, we can take that up much further. There, that's safer. That's safer, Mr. Schaefer. Okay. Now, as I was saying, the actual front panel of the radio, you know, where it has all the knobs and all that kind of stuff on it, that comes right off of the radio, and I connect that with a cable, which is running right to the back. So I didn't explain that very well. There we go. Put on my seatbelt. The radio and the antenna tuner are in the trunk, in the back. Now I'm unwrapping this cable that I have here for the that connects right to the control head, which the control head is the front part of the radio that I have right here, with all the buttons and knobs and such. That is now connected, and I will proceed to turn on the radio. I have the microphone here, it plugs right into the control head. There we go. And
614.22219 megahertz USB.
Okay, now we're going to move on, and I'm just going to tune around here. Go up to Signal Hill, I guess. I'm just going to tune around here and see if there's somebody there, and I'll give them a call for you guys. Let you hear how that works. Yep. Okay, there's some... Oh, he's mobile too. Okay. So we're heading towards Signal Hill, which is famous for the whole Marconi thing. The whole beginning of radio, where it all started, right here. So we're going to go up there and make a couple of contacts for you guys. So that just showed you how quickly we could just walk out to the car with the radio in hand and just connect it and jump in the car. And here I am with just like the whole front of the radio just removed, sitting on my lap. And the microphone is plugged right into that. So when we get up on Signal Hill, I'll continue and we'll make a couple of contacts for you guys. Let you hear a couple of let's see here. Yeah, no. Let's just see here. We're kind of in a valley here now. HF doesn't quite work the same. It doesn't matter quite as much about being in a valley, but obviously, if you're way up on Signal Hill with no obstructions and nothing in your way and so on, it's going to be optimal. So you will notice when we get up there. Hang on now. Ooh, there's a nice strong signal. Wait till he speaks again.
Germany Radio, good evening, you're 5 and 9.
Wow. Yeah, he's 5 and 9.
Okay, really, thanks very much. 73 from Virginia. Yours is from Kilowatt 4, Victor.
Victor Oscar 1, Romeo Victor Mobile.
Victor. Kilowatt 4, Victor.
Victor Oscar 1, Romeo Victor Mobile.
Victor Oscar 1, Romeo Victor Mobile, you're 59.
Roger, you're 5'9" as well, 5'9" plus, into St. John's, Newfoundland. Name here is Jim, Juliet, Italy, Mexico, over.
Okay, thanks a lot. 73, and thanks for the call.
73.
Yours is from K4, Victor.
So, folks, you heard just how easy that was. That guy's in Virginia. K4VV, or Kilowatt 4 Victor, phonetically. And it was as easy as that. I just tuned around the dial here, and I heard him and gave him a call, and he answered me. And we're not even in a particularly ideal spot here. So, once we get up on the hill, let me just see what frequency that was for the log.
814.2009 megahertz USB.
There we are. Let's keep tuning around here.
CQDX20 meter phone, LOCQ calling CQ20 from W2 Yankee Papa, W2YP calling, W2 Yankee Portugal calling Europe. This is stateside looking at you.
What's his name again?
W2YP, W2 Yankee Papa calling CQDX20 LO20. This is stateside beaming Europe.
What's his name, Mike?
W2 Yankee Papa. W2YP calling CQDX20 and standing by for call, over.
Victor Oscar 1, Romeo Victor Mobile, over. Yes, this is Victor Oscar number 1, Romeo Victor Mobile, St. John's, Newfoundland. Name is Jim, Juliet, Italy, Mexico. Over.
Hey, Jim, how are you? I haven't worked you in a long time. I remember I worked you maybe a couple of months ago. VO1RV, W2YP. How are you doing, Jim? Name is Mike. Over.
Doing great, Mike. Just in the mobile here now. Brand new mobile setup. Got the IC706 Mark II G. And a ham stick on the back, and we're just on our way up to historical Signal Hill in St. John's. I think a lot of people know of Signal Hill from the whole legend of Marconi receiving the letter S across the Atlantic. So we're just momentarily going to be there. So if you want me to call you back, I don't know if you have a contact directly from Signal Hill in your log, but if you want, let you go ahead, work some more DX, and when we hit the top of the hill, we can give you a shout back. Over.
You got yourself a deal. Very, very nice indeed. Nice to hear that. You got a beautiful signal. I guess the skip is running a little short at the present time. Maybe it might be a little ground wave to you. I don't know. But you got a great signal here. You're 10 over 9. Good.
You're every bit of that here, Mike. No problem. All right, well, I'll let you just carry on, and when we hit the top of the hill, we'll give you a shout back. W2YP, VO1RV Mobile.
Okay, VO1RV Mobile, W2YP. I'll be standing by on frequency here for you. I don't think there's too much coming over from here at the present time. Take care.
So there we go, folks. That's Mike I think he's in New York or New Jersey. I think he's in New York somewhere, New York State. His call is W2YP, and let's check the frequency here. 14.198. Yeah, so that's how easy it is. So now, for you folks out there, I'll just turn this down a little bit until we hit the top of the hill. Just for you guys, ham radio, it's something that I've talked about before, and I haven't really demonstrated it on the Roar. I was always meaning to, but I was inactive for the longest time. I was running something called an IRLP node. So by having a radio connected to a computer and the computer connected to the internet, we can take little radios, little handheld radios, or mobile VHF or UHF radios, and just be driving around or walking around anywhere. And as long as you can connect to the node, then you can connect to nodes everywhere else, all over the world. So you can be using a little radio the size of a bar of soap, walking down the street in St. John's, Newfoundland, talking to somebody with a little radio the same size, walking down the street in Sydney, Australia. But what we're doing here now this evening is HF, high frequency, which is all through the air. There's no internet, there's no nothing involved. This is all just a little radio in the back of the car here. And like I said, I'm sitting up front with the control head on my lap and the microphone, handheld microphone. And as I mentioned, the radio I'm using is an ICOM IC706 Mark II G. Actually, for him, I'm going to put on the noise blanker. Okay, there we are. What was I saying? Yeah, so it's the ICOM IC706 Mark II G. Is this the halfway point?
We're going up the hill.
Okay.
We're about almost halfway.
Yeah, that's what I figured, because there's that little slope there. So we're about halfway up Signal Hill now, and Signal Hill is way up yonder. I mean, when we're on the top of Signal Hill, there's nothing around here anywhere that's any higher. Let's see. Okay, like he's way up there in terms of signal strength. Okay. When we get to the top of the hill, I'm going to give him a shout back so he can log Signal Hill in his logbook. I don't know if he's ever worked. We do have a club station up here. The local ham radio club, Sonra, has a club station up here in Cabot Tower. So I don't know, Mike might have worked the club station before, but if he hasn't, I'm going to give him a shout back from the top of the hill, and he will have worked Signal Hill. I can imagine this is going to be a great place to have a few what we call pile-ups, where you just go up here and you just call a general call. I'm going to hit this little... There we go. Yeah, just put out a general call to anyone from anywhere, and a whole bunch of people get back to you. Signal Hill is a great place for that. In terms of radio, the sort of historic nature of this location, many could say that this is exactly where it all started. So in terms of CB radio and ham radio and broadcast radio, the whole idea of voice over the air, that whole idea, or not just voice over the air, but wireless communication. That's probably the best way to put it. So what we want to do here, dear, is park. If you can, park so that our stern is kind of pointing toward the southwest. Do you know what I'm saying? Spin around like... See, we're in a mobile here, so it's almost like a beam. So almost if you could, like, if there were some kind of little slope here where we could get, like, park with the front of the car right up a slope and the back of the car pointing toward the southwest, that would be just like having a little beam beaming. Let's see.
+101.148 USB.
W2YP stateside. EA3 Bravo Echo Mike in Barcelona 73s. W2YP signing clear. Bye-bye.
W2YP from Victor Oscar 1 Romeo Victor Mobile, now sitting at the absolute top of Signal Hill, right next to Cabot Tower. Mike, over.
Beautiful. S9 plus 10. S9 plus 10. Lovely audio. Nice signal all the way around. And the microphone back to you from W2YP. Good?
Yeah, okay, Mike. Yeah, it's just the stock hand mic for the 706 and a ham stick on the back of the car. But we kind of turned around a little bit so that we're using the car as the rotor, and we're pretty much generally pointing toward the southwest. Go ahead.
You got a good signal, I'll tell you. Really, really high. Really good. Really good signal. I'm really surprised. But then again, the propagation is the way it is. What can I tell you, guys?
There you go. Yeah, I was noticing some pretty long propagation earlier today. I heard a lot of European stations working people out on the west coast, and there seemed to be a bit of a drop in the middle. But I don't know, things seem to be shortening up as the evening goes on here. So there you go. Anyway, nice to have you back in the log again, Mike. I've been out of it for a while. I used to be down on 180 quite a bit. Good friend of mine, W2 NCH. I don't know if he's still around or what the story is on Al, but used to work Al years ago, and then after being away from the hobby for a while, got back, and of course Bill, W2ONV, and a few of the guys, Gary, a few of the guys used to fool around a little bit with the sort of ESSB type thing, bit of outboard gear, desk microphone, with the Kenwood 440, which is it was kind of sort of a waste of time, Mike, but it was fun fooling around with it. Even with the I didn't have the radio opened up for it properly, but it was fun anyway. So I don't know if Bill or Al, I don't know if you know W2NCH or if you've ever worked him before. I think he's there in New Jersey. I don't know if any of those guys are still around or not. But certainly after years and years away from amateur radio, it's great for me to be back. And I just might mention to you that currently we're recording. We do a show, and I can mention it here because it's not for profit. It's just something we do. It's a podcast that we do called Republic of Avalon Radio. And we're recording this QSO right now to go out there for all our listeners all over the world. So I'll turn it back to you. Maybe you might want to say hello and comment on those couple of people wondering about how Bill and Al and the guys might be doing. W2 Yankee Papa from Victor Oscar 1 Romeo Victor Mobile.
Okay, beautiful. VO1RZ on Signal Hill, W2YD returning, and it's a pleasure to hear you on. And I just want to say good evening, good afternoon, a good morning to your guests, and it's a pleasure to be on with you. Going back to Al, of course, I've known Al many years. I think Al passed away, W2NCH, he passed away. I haven't heard Al on for, I think, just as long as you've been off the radio. I have not heard him on. Of course, Bill, W2ONV is gone. He passed away 2 years ago, just about 2 years ago. And he put up a good fight. He had scleroderma. It's a very aggressive skin disease that works from the inside out. And it's a shame. It really is a shame. And that day he finally succumbed to that disease and had it for many years. But it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to hear you here on the radio. And it's just wonderful indeed that you're up on Signal Hill. VO1RV, Mobile, Signal Hill, W2YD, New Rochelle, New York, 8 kilometers due north of New York City. Back to you.
Okay, W2YP from Victor Oscar 1 Romeo Victor Mobile. Well, that's certainly sad to hear. Boy, I tell you, if I live to be 100 years old, I'll never forget that booming audio from downtown Saddlebrook. And Al and I used to talk quite a bit back, I guess probably in the 80s, when he was playing at the piano bar and all that kind of stuff. And we used to just rag chew quite a bit. I'm a white caner as well, so we kind of, and a musician, and I record CDs and all that kind of stuff, and produce for other people as well. So there you go. Myself and Al had an awful lot in common, a lot to talk about, and that's too bad. That's sad news, but I mean, I suppose it's inevitable. It's going to happen to us all eventually. So there you go. All right, Mike, I'll let you get on there. I just wanted to give you a shout back from the top of the hill here. I'm just going to take a spin through the band. We have an 80-meter net coming on shortly, so I'm going to run out and swap ham sticks and check into the 80-meter net, and then get the heck back to the home QTH and have a little early evening nap before the Phillies game. Hi. So great QSO. Great to hear you on, and you're sounding absolutely. You couldn't sound any better. That station, and that, I think you're using a cubicle quad. That's doing the job for you. Obviously, the ham stick's not doing too bad in return, but come on, the cubicle quad is rocking you right across the water, no problem. So 73, Mike, all the best. Good DX. And if you ever hear me around the bands now, working a bit of DX or whatever, I'm not so much of a contesting type sort of cat. So don't hesitate to jump in and say hi. And we will talk to you sometime, hopefully soon. W2 Yankee Papa from Victor Oscar 1 Romeo Victor Mobile on the top of Signal Hill, St. John's, Newfoundland. And I'll be clear with your final, Mike.
Okay, beautiful. VO1RZ, portable mobile, Signal Hill, W2YP in New York returning. Just a pleasure. Signal getting a little noisier now. I think the propagation is changing, but it's always a pleasure. And of course, we're going to have to go down memory hill. And of course, I remember Al at the piano bar, as you do, and very interesting individual, of course, very interesting. And Bill, of course, there's nobody like Bill. And I will tell you my little story about Bill Salerno. I went into Bill's shack, and I started to talk in front of him, and he says to me, you sound a lot like me. And I says, no, you sound a lot like me. And we became friends ever since. And I will tell you that many weeks, I would say before he passed away, he called me, and he wanted to know, why wasn't I on the air? Why wasn't I on the mic? Why are you not on the air? I said, Bill, I'm rebuilding my quad. It's only been 25 years in the air, you know. So he says, oh, okay. You know, we miss you. We want you on the air, you know. So I says, as soon as I finish it up, and it took me quite a while to rebuild the entire antenna, which I did. And then I found out that he had died. He had died just about a month after I finished the antenna. So it's a sad story, but what can I say? This is life, and you have to appreciate those around you and your friends, and you have to know that you have to really respect people while they're alive. That's what it's all about in this world. VO1RV, Signal Hill, Mobile, W2 Yankee Papa, your friend Mike. Thanking you for your time this time. Till next time. All the best. Take care.
73, Mike. 73 and QSL. All of that. Absolutely. That's a lesson that some people on certain bands could well heed. I think. So there you have it. 73, Mike. All the best, and we will talk to you again soon. W2YP VO1RV Mobile clear.
Okay. All the best to you. Thanks again. I really appreciate your call. W2YP signing clear. Bye bye.
Okay. So there we have it, folks. That was Mike in New York, W2YP, who I don't know that well, but obviously we have mutual friends, or we had mutual friends. So I'm just going to take a little shot around the band here, because it sounds to me like we're in pretty good shape. So I'm going to unlock my VFO and see who the heck that really loud one is here. Somebody there is really loud. Okay.
It's interesting because I didn't hear anybody louder than LFO. I'll tell you what, you run some guys. When we get somebody that's further out, I'll send you a note. Okay, no problem. Yeah, it was very interesting because there were like 3 guys louder than him in the pileup. Yeah, my guess is that I'm covering
Plus 30 dB over S9.
Both low ends or, far in, close should be okay, but we'll give it a shot with some others. Cures in Europe from Norway 3, Kilo Sugar.
Victor Oscar 1, Romeo Victor Mobile.
Okay, 9 Radio Delta Mexico. What's your call?
What happened there?
I think he accidentally turned it off. What's going on?
7, very nice signal, 5 and 7. And my name is Cam, Kilo America, the state of Maryland. And we're running some antenna tests with another station, K4 Victor Victor. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Okay, that's
the operator, and if you don't mind, take a look at the S meter and see how we compare. Go ahead, Tim. Okay, thanks, Cam. This is Jim over at Jack's QTH at Kilowatt 4 Victor Victor. You're 5 and 7 to 5 and 8 here. Over.
good Lord. Talk about loud signals. So, I don't know if this is a thrill a minute for you guys or not. See, here's the thing. Are we doing what are we doing here? Republic of Avalon Radio, what is it? Is it a razzmatazz, thrill a second type thing? Or is it a more realistic sort of bring you along with us? Well, obviously that's the way it's always been. We bring you along with us and take you places, and that's what's going on right here. So let's just... I just worked this guy a while ago. I'm going to move off frequency here. Okay, let's go on down.
Probably not at this temperature, so we're hoping it warms up maybe to 60 or 70 degrees. I think it's supposed to next week. If the jet stream turns back.
Okay. He's...
Been through the dance thing with my 2 daughters, and they're older now, so I got some more free time. 73. Man, we'll see you later. Thanks for calling. N0KK, V6 Alpha Oscar.
So that voice you're just hearing there, he's in Calgary, Alberta.
Things to do, but it turned out it was pretty interesting. I visited it because
I'm not sure where the other guy is.
this connection with my friend who has the station that I contest from, and I was up in the Glacier and Waterton area, and Cardston was kind of on the way of getting over to Waterton from Glacier. So, but it was quite an ordeal. I guess it's even been on The Simpsons poking fun at it. But if you get a chance, stop in down there. But anyway, sounds like, well, I knew the station was pretty big up there. I've heard you talk about it before, but I didn't realize you could, when somebody wasn't working the other station, phase everything together. That's pretty impressive, over.
It's actually quite neat. And that idea was sort of inspired by a thing I saw on a QST magazine cover. I don't know how many years ago, but some guy in, I don't know where he was, Finland or something, had 6 of these TH6s phased.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move down the band here, folks. That's all fine and dandy, as we say.
60 feet, about 20 meters, and hopefully soon I will get my phone out of the stepper, but it takes time to do these things. Okay, thanks very much for the cue, so I won't hold you anymore. I can give out the changes anyway. Victor Alpha 2, Alpha Delta Delta, from Echo India 6, Japan Kilo. Echo India 6, Japan Kilo.
He's in Ireland. He sounds like Ronnie Drew himself. He does.
Mark. Oh, I would love to visit your country. My son's a pilot for an airline. He does land in Ireland once in a while, but mostly London, Paris, Rome, and so forth. They just get to Ireland on occasion, and I would love to visit your country. It is a beautiful country from all the pictures I've seen and the descriptions by people who've been there. But as a matter of fact, my next-door neighbor and his wife are taking over to, I think it's Dublin. I'm not sure about exact location where they're heading for, but they're taking the son over for the World Championship in judo, I think it is. Judo. And they're going over there at the end of this month, at the end of October, and they're heading for Ireland. And I told them, I said, well, you're going to a beautiful country, and I wish I could visit there myself. Okay, Mark, fine business, and thank you so much for the nice QSO, and we'll be looking for you down the log here. As conditions improve, my gosh, we're going to have a lot of fun on the radio here if we can get back to the old days. I'm not a very old, I should say, I'm not a very, how would you say it? I haven't been in ham radio all that many years. When I retired at the age of 67, which was 13 years ago, I got into ham radio, and I got my license, but I've been enjoying it 100%.
So that guy we're listening to now is 80.
70. So we'll look for you Thanksgiving Day here in Canada. This is today, Monday the 12th of October. So I would wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I know you're probably not celebrating Thanksgiving today, but I will wish you a happy Thanksgiving from Canada. Back to you there, Mark, for your final, and I will say 7-3, looking for a future one with you, Mark. Echo India 6, Juliet, Quebec, Juliet Kilo. This is Victor Alpha 2, Alpha Delta Delta.
He's in Quebec.
And you had your son to say there about his changes, but I got most of it anyway. Nice to meet you, Ed. Thanks very much for the call. Hope to meet you again. All the best to you and your family. And if you ever make it over here, do give us a shout. Take care, my dear friend. All the best to you and yours. Victor Alpha 2, Alpha Delta Delta. For Echo India 6, Juliet Kilo. 73 Dad. Bye-bye.
You know, if I didn't know any better, I think he's using one of those D104 desk mics.
Sorry, too bad about that. Okay, Mark 73.
This is Newfoundland's first podcast. You're with Nora.
Hi, I'm Bob McDonald, the science guy from CBC's Quirks and Quarks, and you're listening to the Republic of Avalon Radio.
Republic of Avalon Radio.
Radio for lazy people who don't want to do nothing.
All right, what I'm going to show you guys now is just a little sweep through to show you shortwave. I'm just going to tune up into, I'm just right up here now into the 40 meter band. I'm just going to tune up above into the shortwave and let you guys hear sort of what comes in from around the world, just sitting here in the car.
En primera instancia por un tribunal local el lunes, mientras que otra persona se enfrentará a cadena perpetua. Los 7 acusados fueron declarados culpables por asesinato y
Dana sojaju sa sindikalnim akcijama dok ne dobiju čvrsta jamstva. ولكن الناموس ليس من الإيمان بل الإنسان الذي يفعلها سيحيا بها. Millions were killed on Monday in a suicide attack in northwestern Pakistan. The attack targeted a military convoy in a conflict area. Pakistan lost at least 2,000 people in the last 2 years in around 300 attacks, mostly suicide bombings. You asked us to develop a filter that was made in the USA. You asked us to include an emergency light for camping and during power outages. We listened. After 9/11, you asked us to develop a filter that was requested by America, designed by Americans, and made in America. Get the Berkey Light, the American water purifier. Only $279. Carbon Millennium. 888-803-4438. That's 888-803-4438. Or order on the web at berkeywater.com. Available through Iowa.
What is available in Iowa? That's what I'd like to know. All right, so now I'm just going to take you guys through a little spin through the AM broadcast band. That's where you hear all those regular stations. It's not shortwave or anything like that. It's just the regular. I think these days AM is a lot of talk radio for the most part. Say, for example, growing up, I used to listen in the nighttime to the AM broadcast band and listen to WNEW in New York and 1010 Winds, WBAL in Baltimore, WWVA in Wheeling, West Virginia, KDKA in Pittsburgh, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, we're just going to take you on a quick little tour through the AM broadcast band. So just kick back and enjoy. I'm starting way up at the top of the band, and I'm going to slowly work our way down and see what we can hear from the heart of the Republic of Avalon. We're still sitting on the top of Signal Hill in the mobile, and let's just see what we can get. Tuning down. Here we go. Let's make sure I don't have any of that stuff on. No, I don't. Here we go. Here we go. That would obviously be Spain. And now just to show you where we are, hang on now. 4175760 Okay, so that's just to prove to you guys that this is not shortwave. Where we're located, we're between Europe and North America. So anybody who just thinks of where we are as just being some kind of just a part of Canada or whatever, not only is that very misleading, well, it's just very misleading, because here we are. Let me just keep tuning down. More European stations. Certainly, that's probably Morocco, because that's like straight across from us is the west coast of Ireland, but Portugal is there as well, going straight east of us, and Portugal is right next to Spain, and Spain is right next to Morocco, so that makes perfect sense. Brian Baru of the Boston Globe. It's pretty interesting. Okay, so I think that might be WBZ in Boston. Okay, that's obviously from the UK. Another American station, I think. This is from France.
Sale ends October 31st. Ramsey Cycle and Sport, Celtic Drive, Sydney River. Decorate your home for fall and Halloween. The United Farmers Co-op has everything from...
That's Cape Breton, I think.
Pumpkins, cornstalks, and gourds. There are tulips, daffodils, crocus, and other fall bulbs. Flower hydrangeas, burning bush, and other favorites. Now's also time to add lime and fall fertilizer to your lawn before the cold weather arrives. United Farmers Co-op has everything from pet supplies and wild bird seeds to bird feeders, garden accents, and gifts for the gardener. You could win 1,000 air miles. Enter today at United Farmers Co-op, 502 Celtic Drive. Open weekdays 8:30 till 6, Saturdays 8:30 till 5. This is Renovation Month, the month to showcase construction professionals, products, and services. Support Renovation Month. A message from McDonald's Backhoe and Trucking. Complete residential and commercial excavation, from septic systems to sand and gravel and snow removal. Call 794-2607.
Yeah,
Interiors, where you make a decorating.
Let's see where this is.
Winning Interiors offers a full range of decorating services, and fall classes are starting soon.
712-278-0007.
Serving all of Cape Breton. No job too small.
Yeah, that's definitely Cape Breton. Well, we know the guy's singing there.
My clients, and my job is to encourage them to step out and risk rejection. You trust God by risking
That's
rejection.
local.
We trust God by
Sugar Ray Robinson, marvelous Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, was a self-proclaimed greatest, Muhammad Ali. Click TalkSport.com/Hall of Fame now. With Strongbow, the reward for when the work is done. On 1089 and 1053 AM and DAB digital radio. TalkSport. The Late Show with Ian Collins on TalkSport. Adrian Goldberg in for Ian Collins all this week. Let's go straight to the lines. Lawrence.
Okay, Talk Sport. Hang on.
Oh, careful with you.
1109000.
It's a Talk Sports station in the UK.
Un equipo que sí, que evidentemente sigue teniendo una gran vergüenza en el césped, pero que no transmite ni ese espíritu ni esa unidad que ha habido otros años.
So I think to the average North American, this sounds more like shortwave, but this is actually the AM broadcast band because of our location and where we are in the middle of the Atlantic, with Ireland about a 3-hour direct flight east of us. Hang on there.
And then this is really the closest you can get to a questionnaire for birds, if you like. So you can really ask them, do you like this song better or this song better? They're simply counting how often they ask for one song rather than the other song.
So what did you find when they pushed their jukebox buttons?
That's CBC coming from somewhere.
Amazing.
That's Radio Newfoundland. I think that's New York, WCBS, but it's not coming in very well.
I'm going to go for a while.
Okay, I'm almost done. Yeah, just hang on. Yeah, so okay, folks, I'm just finishing up here.
Esto me parece mucho más importante que lo del abucheo. Efectivamente coincido con Mariano.
That's local, that's 880, that's VOWR. And I'll just finish the very bottom of the band here for you guys. More UK. We know those guys too. Well, where's that coming from? That's probably coming from Marystown. Let's just see here. Okay. Okay, we're almost at the bottom of the band here, folks.
Bedford Avenue in Brooklyn is proud to announce the most exciting price guarantee ever by any Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, or Acura. We'll guarantee no one, and we mean no one.
Yeah, they just said Brooklyn, but I think they mean...
The difference on any deal you show us better. There's an 09 Hyundai Elantra just
Hang on.
$995. You save over $5,000 for a 2010 Toyota Corolla. Just $139 a month with no money down. 09 Honda Civic LX, only $159 a month for a 2010.
Something tells me that's Brooklyn here.
And if you find a better price on the same make and model in stock from any dealer within 48 hours of your purchase, we'll refund the difference. This holiday weekend, there's no need to shop anywhere else.
Yeah,
Discover Plaza Auto Mall in Brooklyn. You can't find a better price anywhere. We guarantee it. Go to plazaautomall.com for directions and hours.
Who's ready to hear some fun facts about Geico? All right, there's people and a small songbird, the zebra finch.
Okay, that's CBC. We're down to 640. And we got the crowd of Bo Sherman again. We're down to 590.
Dr. Katerina Riebel is the co-author
Another CBC. And we have completed our way through the AM band. So there you go, folks. There's a little tiny bit of first-hand ham radio for you all. Hope you enjoyed that. And hope you've enjoyed this whole thing overall. I'm not in a position to do an all-encompassing end-all documentary on radio, the history thereof, and so on. I'm just a schmuck who was born loving radio and will die loving radio of all shapes and sizes and flavors. And I've kind of twiddled with it all over the years and will continue to do so. And in fact, the reason why I'm here talking to you now is because of my love of that other type of radio, which we call broadcast radio or commercial broadcast radio. And it's just my way of being able to do something and not have anybody censoring me or telling me what to say. I'm not reading stupid ads out. I'm not having to play bad music. I can do my own thing here, and I don't have to put on the big fake radio announcer voice. I can just talk in my own natural melodious tones. So there you have it, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this episode 73. And let me say before we close, that we've enjoyed having you along for the ride, literally here in the vehicle with the license plate on the back that proudly reads VO1RV, which is my call sign, if you haven't gathered that already. And I'll say catch you next time here on Republic of Avalon Radio. But in the meantime, from VO1XYL and myself, VO1RV, take care of each other, and à la prochaine, 73.
Bestseller production.